Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining this afternoon's Corporate Connect featuring LMS Compliance Ltd. I'm Eileen, your host for today. This afternoon, we are pleased to have LMS Compliance as well as our audience from Facebook Live. This webinar is organized by SIAS and supported by SGX Group. We will kick off today's webinar with a presentation by Mr. Jeff Howie, Market Strategist from SGX Group on recent market highlights, followed by the corporate presentation by Dr. Louis Oy, Founder and CEO of LMS Compliance, and we will end off with a Q&A session. Testing and certification service provider LMS Compliance was first listed on the Catalyst board of the Singapore Exchange on December 1st, 2022. The company is a laboratory group with established track records and strong market reputation. The company has 3 accredited laboratories and 1 sales office across Malaysia, providing quality testing and certification services for companies across the gamut of industries ranging from food, feed, fertilizer, pharmaceutical, medical devices, healthcare, industrial, and green tech. Without further ado, we will hear from Dr. Louis Oy to share about how company is doing and their business strategy as well as their future plan. But before this, let's invite Mr. Jeff Howie to kick off today's session. Over to you, Jeff.
Thanks, Eileen. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I think you can see me and hear me. Great to be here with LMS Compliance, one of our newest companies to list on SGX, as well as SIAS and, of course, Gemcom. I'm going to spend a quick 10 minutes or so just running through a couple of observations made in the Singapore stock market for the first quarter of this year. Predominantly, it was a 10% trading range for the STI in the first quarter of this year, much like the fourth quarter of last year. The STI did close pretty flat for the quarter. I think it booked a narrow 0.8% total return. The actual FTSE ASEAN All-Share Index booked a 0.3% total return, and the FTSE Asia Pacific Index booked a total return of 3.8%. And since the end of April, we've had 1.5 sessions where the STI has added approximately 1.5%, and it's currently just above 3,300. So after we led APAC last year, that total return for the STI was more at the center of the leaderboard for the regional indices. Taiwan's TAIEX led the region on the rotation to global technology stocks, and the Nifty 50 was the laggard of the region. And of course, as we know, the RBI is contending with sticky core inflation that is above 6%, as well as also having its repo rate currently at 6.5%. And they're actually meeting again on Thursday and expected to hike rates by 25 bips to 6.75%. So looking within the STI, the net institutional inflow and outflow of each of the constituents proportionate to their market capitalization, and saying proportionate to their market capitalization's important, as I will show you in a couple of slides' time, because we saw Sembcorp Industries, Genting Singapore, and Keppel DC REIT book the highest proportionate net institutional inflow in the first quarter. Meanwhile, Keppel Corp, Yangzijiang City Developments booked the highest net proportional institutional outflow. So by proportionate, we're taking the actual net institutional inflow or outflow and dividing it by the market capitalization at the end of the quarter for the stock. So Yangzijiang and City Developments, while they booked the highest net proportional institutional outflow, they were also the STI's least performing stocks in the first quarter, while Keppel Corp was among the 4 strongest performers of the STI in the first quarter, and those other best performers were Sembcorp Industries and Genting Singapore and Keppel DC REIT, the same 3 stocks that actually booked the highest net proportionate inflow for the quarter. So that net institutional outflow that was actually booked by Keppel Corp and subsequent, I should say, or concurrent net inflow booked by Sembcorp Marine did coincide with the completed combination of Keppel Offshore Marine with Sembcorp Marine. So now, before I go on to the switching, I should mention the quarter also saw key developments across the 5 market drivers, which include global interest rates, decelerating growth, persistent inflation, geopolitical tensions, as well as global financial stability, with that later global financial stability certainly given somewhat of a nudge in the last 3 weeks of March. Now, these drivers, they all kind of began the year overarching, but their universal impact on sectors and stocks, it has been somewhat dissipating this quarter. So the OECD noted 2 weeks ago that emerging market economies in Asia are likely to be less affected by the global slowdown and helped by the rebound in China and more moderate inflationary pressures in the region. So we saw for the month of March, the first 7 trading sessions of the month were relatively tight, with a 2% trading range right through to the 9th of March close. But then with the advent of the US European bank focus and those several significant central bank announcements to support liquidity in the global financial system, we saw the STI's trading range more than double to 5.5% for the rest of the month. Now, with that nudge to financial stability, that was somewhat countered by that synchronized action by the central banks such as Bank of Canada, Bank of England, Bank of Japan, ECB, US Fed, and the Swiss National Bank. We saw the Spider Gold Shares ETF book 6% gains in Singapore dollar terms over the last 3 weeks of March. Now, back to rates as a key driver, the Fed fund rate expectations pretty much ended the first quarter where they began the first quarter. So at the beginning of this year, we had the Fed funds rate was at even odds to be at either 4.75% to 5%, or 5% to 5.25% come the 14th of June mid-year Federal Open Market Committee meeting. Now, majority expectations for that June rate, they did gravitate, or they did move from 4.75% to 5% in January, right up to as high as 5.5% to 5.75% in early March. But the impact of the preceding rate hikes on certain banks in the pivotal US financial sector, it has majority expectations for the Fed funds rate to, as we said, to be at 4.75% to 5%. And as of now, we've got 10-year yields at 3.4%, US dollar at 102. So both are off a little from where they began the year. And as the Fed chair noted in that very first question of the most recent FOMC press conference, the recent developments in the US financial sector could, in principle, see a tightening of demand conditions. The Minneapolis Fed President Neil Kaspari noted last week, he termed it as a credit crunch. And basically, this is equivalent to the impact of rate hiking on households and businesses. And thus that weighs on demand and helps to curb inflation. So the Fed chair noted that the median projection of the total PCE inflation, while we saw it come down just a little bit on Friday night, it is expected to come in at 3.3% this year, 2.5% next year, and then 2.1% in 2025. So you're only at the moment looking at, based on current economic fundamentals, does not take into account the recent OPEC oil cut. The process of getting inflation down in the US is going to be a long road. So as I said before, we are starting to see this as an overarching trend start to dissipate on its day-to-day impact in the stock market as the market tempo starts to see a little bit less of the speeding up than it has seen in recent years. So I should move on to some slides here. Asset switching and sector switching. They were two key broad developments that we saw in the first quarter, switching to global money market funds from equities globally, in addition to global rotations to the technology sector, with the sector also among the best performing sectors across the global stock market in the first quarter. For the quarter, Singapore stock market, it booked net institutional outflow of 1.6 billion Sing dollars. net retail inflow was close to 800 million Sing dollars, and banks, telcos, REITs led those net institutional outflows, and conversely, the net retail inflow. Overall, I think an important point, as many stocks that booked net institutional outflow in the first quarter also booked net institutional inflow. So you had around 280 book inflow, 280 book outflow. And it saw consumer cyclicals, utilities, consumer non-cyclicals, technology, healthcare, and energy book those inflows. Stocks that led the net institutional inflows into the consumer cyclical sector included Genting Singapore, Best World International, Halcyon Agri, Parks and Retail, which note is on the watch list, NEO, in addition to two stocks that don't rank in our top 100 by trading turnover. They are the Hourglass and Zhongmin Baihu Retail Group. Those latter two stocks rank, as we said, just outside the top 100 by turnover. But the top 100 traded stocks in the first quarter, they did see a combined 1.1 billion in average daily trading turnover over the quarter, which, as we say, the trading turnover has been consistent in recent years, and also contributed to the bulk of the 1.6 billion of net institutional outflow we saw. Now, rather than looking at the perspective of the insti inflows or outflows in absolute terms, it can be useful to gauge that proportionate flows to the stock's market cap. So stocks that attract big flows might be expected to because they maintain relatively big market capitalization, and vice versa. Stocks that attract small flows might be expected to because they might also maintain small market capitalization. So this top chart in the light blue looks at the quarter end market capitalization of each stock in the sector and divides the sector flows by that sector market cap or sector value. So as you can see, when you're looking at it from a proportion of just how big the market cap of each sector is, when you're looking at the flows proportionate to just how big the sector capitalization is, there seems to have a much narrower bandwidth than if you're looking at it from an absolute sense in the bottom chart. And that quarter end market cap, I guess it's not the cleanest measure, because some stocks can see significant changes in their market cap in the course of a month or a quarter, such as we saw with Keppel Corp reducing its market cap, Sembcorp Marine increasing its market cap with the transfer of those Keppel O&M assets we talked about. Sembcorp Industries did lead those utilities. That utilities net institutional fund flows was on the back of Sembcorp Industries. As we noted before, it was the strongest STI stock in the first quarter. It did deliver underlying group net profit of, I think, 883 million, which compared to 472 million last year. And it has obviously continued to build out its renewables portfolio. I think it's secured 3.6 gigawatts of renewable capacity through acquisitions and organic growth last year. So my final slide, just to look at the stocks that booked the most net insti inflow or net insti outflow proportionate to market capitalization in the first quarter. And I put in bold those stocks that were the 10 that booked the highest net institutional inflow on the left, and those 10 that booked the highest net institutional outflow on the right, those which ranked among the 100 most traded stocks. So the most active, the 10 that booked the highest inflows and outflows proportionate to cap, but also are highly traded, ranking within our top 100, or the 10 that ranked in the top 100 with the highest or the lowest are in the bold. So basically what we have is the 10 that booked the highest net institutional inflow proportionate to quarter end market cap averaged 19% total returns in the first quarter, compared to those that booked the highest net institutional outflow proportionate to cap, generating a 13% average decline for the quarter. Now, those when you look at the whole 25, the whole stock market, this on the left is the 25 stocks that booked the highest net inflow proportionate to market cap. And if you look at the average return of those stocks, it was 17%. The median was around 10%. Why I've kind of put in bold those stocks that ranked in terms of flows, because turnover can be pretty small for some of these stocks as well. So taking a screen and seeing that I've got a column here for average daily traded turnover in the course of the day. As you can see, Sembcorp Industry trades $15 million a day, but some stocks like Oil Tech obviously trade less and can trade on average $20,000 a day. So it's just a caveat that some of the stocks that do receive some of the inflows and outflows, obviously, which are pretty high proportionate to their market cap, are not necessarily the most actively traded stocks. So just to show in that regard. So I guess as we said, for the first quarter, we've had these present day market drivers, developments on all of them: interest rates, decelerating growth, persistent inflation, geopolitical tensions, and financial stability. As I said, some of the drivers, especially over the last 2-3 years, had this very strong overarching universal impact on stocks and sectors. It has been dissipating, which has seen, if you listen to commentators, you see them talking more about the increased incidence of idiosyncratic or decoupling or fragmented type of moves, or put it quite simply, mixed moves within certain sectors when it comes to recent market performances. And that what this indicates is that investing perspectives really are on a path of normalization. So we've had all this conformity in global sector outlooks and swings, particularly in 2020 and 2021 and into the first half of last year. But if the downside or contagion risks of these key market drivers, the rates, the growth, inflation, and so forth, if they don't escalate in this second quarter, you would expect increased emphasis on the bottom-up aspect of stock investing versus that top-down approach, which is really dominated in recent years. So I think a good segue now to move into Dr. Lewis Oy from LMS Compliance, who's going to talk us through his business, which is recently listed at NSGX, and I'm really very much looking forward to this next presentation. So bear with me while I attempt to stop the share and so forth. Thank you very much.
Hi, everyone. Let me share my screen, yeah. Hello. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah, can see the screen. Yeah, go ahead.
Right. Okay, all right. Thank you for the opportunity given by the SIAS and also SGX invited my humble company, LMS Compliance, to make these presentations for this morning. Company name is actually LMS Compliance, and code number is LMS, yeah. We'll cover 4 sections of today's presentation: company overview, financial highlights, competitive strength, and also our future strategy and plan. Yeah, let's take a look at the company overview. LMS Compliance Limited offer quality testing and certifications business or services for clients at cross gamuts of industries such as foods, healthcare, industrial, and also green tech. Basically, our main competitor are those from the West, which is ALS, Eurofin, HES, Bureau Veritas, TUV, and also in my country, we have one Sirim Bohat that actually our direct competitor. Those competitor except Sirim was exist in the world more than average of about 150 years, and having a footprint of 1,000 laboratory and employing probably more than 10,000 headcount. Hence, LMS Compliance as another alternative testing and certification provider in ASEAN, we would like to inspired by them and become testing and compliance services provider in Asia. So our brand, LMS offer quality testing. As I mentioned, a lot of people ask me what's meaning by LMS Compliance. Let me give a bit hit up on the name of the company. First things, LMS stand for the acronyms of the patent pending technology called linear multiple surveillance, and it's a technology that emphasizes on the accuracy, agility, and also simplicity of and also security of the solutions. Whereas compliance is our core activity that emphasizes on testing and assessment and certification. Let's have the 3 minutes overview on our corporate video. I'd like to stop the sharing and then all good? Yeah, let me share back the slide. Yeah, can still hear me, right?
Yes, can. Go ahead.
All right, let's have thanks for the getting passions on the video. Let's have a quick glance of the company. LMS has been founded in 2006. And also currently we having 3 accredited laboratory, and then we are having capability to run 1,100 accredited tests, and whereas we are able to run 10,200 non-accredited tests. Currently we employ about 110 employees in Malaysia, and our revenue, interestingly, 80% of the revenue are recurrent business, meaning client are recurring sending sample to us for testing. Our net profits CAGR is at 8.8%. Yep. The key milestone of company right now is looking at about 2006 we formed a company, and 2007 we actually launched our first LIM system, and 2011 our group expand to Kuala Lumpur, which is capital city of Malaysia, and 2013 we launched our trading company this empiric science that assists our client to having some laboratory solutions provider. In 2015, we do our first restructuring that create another 2 more company in KL, and also another testing lab in Johor, southern state of Malaysia, called Johor Bahru. In 2006, we launched our very first ISO documentation control system. In 2018, humbly, we are the first local laboratory in Malaysia that launched traceable QR code. This is to minimize the misappropriations of our certificate of analysis, and also strive for the security features of our testing result. In 2011, during pandemic, we decided to commercialize our IKIN, our LIMS system, laboratory information management system, and also the documentation management system for ISO, IZEN. In 2022, we launched our very first cell global real-time cell certifications of product, meaning the QR code allow client or consumer to access to the quality of product during the point of purchase, as shown in the last minutes of the video. Currently, we operate in 5 business segments. Firstly, testing assessment. There's a big bunch of the revenue from there, 95.9%. Certification consists of 1.3%. Training is about 2%. And then distribution of conformity assessment technology, which is I mentioned to you, IZIM, IKIN, and IZEN is about 0.8%. And lastly, we just introduced our very first ESG reportings and compliance services. We're helping Busa and also GX company, which is this company, to do the ESG reporting. Okay, let's go. Yeah, industry and footprint wise, as 31st December 2022, the yellow color is our accredited laboratory, as mentioned to you earlier, and the blue color is under IKIN licensing, meaning we license our LIMS system to the respective potential collaborator in Malaysia, that they can use the LIMS to operate their testing workflow. And also we have created another one, a sales office in Kota Baru, the East Coast of Malaysia. As I mentioned earlier, we are coming from food and fertilizer, feed, pharmaceutical, medical device, healthcare, industry, and green tech industry. We serve quite well-versed industrial, instead of we are focusing on one particular segment or one particular company. Allow me to just tagging along the testing services to the ESG perspective. First thing, we are the data science, we provide scientific data for company that require to make the ESG reporting. Example, we are having the so-called air monitoring, the air pollutions and noise pollutions, and also water pollutions and other pollutions, like these schedule waste pollutions, that actually a company could extract the data from us, put into their ESG report. This is under e-compliant. Whereas if the company are from food or feed industry, basically from a social perspective under ESG, these testing are actually arrived from the chemical microbiology testing, that probably will be one of the good scientific data that to publish in the ESG report, that the product are actually safe for human consumption. Industry perspective, other than food, the DROSH and REACH compliant from EU, lube oil, hand sanitizer, face mask are those areas that probably required to be mentioned in their ESG report as well. Testing services are well spread. As you can see, currently we're having a 37% of food and feed, and then medical device about 14%, Green tech, anything to do with environment pollution, noise pollution, water pollutions, about 18%. Healthcare is about 18%. The healthcare referring to those dialysis center, hospital sample, clinical sample as well. Household about 2%. Household, those referring to like hand sanitizer, those detergent is under healthcare. Pharmaceutical is all the drugs and also the feed, the drug for the animal, drug for the humans are under pharmaceutical. As you can see, our industry are well spread, are more on cover the spectrum of consumer and industry as well. Lastly, assessment services under the ESG perspective, we call it workplace safety. Yeah, one of the important reporting element in the ESG report are talking about workplace safety. How safe, how is the exposure level of our employee toward the chemical exposure to health, and also what is the level of noise that could influence of the hearing impairments of the worker, and many more. And even though we provide occupation health doctor services just to help our client extract the data and put into the ESG report. So at last, these testing assessment services business consists of 95.8% revenue that we could cover 6, 7, 13, 14, 15 on environment, and 2, 3, 11 for social perspective. There's another perspective from the ESG certification services, which is complement to our testing services. Company right now, LMS will be able to conduct direct audit from our own system, like 9,000 to 2,000 food safety, 14,000, 1,408, and this is HACCP, and also workplace safety. Those are related to the company, and others and audits will be consist of the ESG certification mentioned earlier, and ISO 27001 information security management system audit, 14,000 environment, and also social audit, RBA, CDEX, SA8000, CIMITA, and certification as well. Look at the from the perspective of ESG as well. 14,000 are under E perspective of environment, social expertise, and 45,000 occupation health safety, workplace safety under social, 2,000 food safety under social, and HACCP as well. For government perspective, able to actually company to do audit on the social responsibility, governance of the organization, anti-bribery, information security, and also other social audit, as I mentioned earlier. This is from the governance perspective. Currently, our certification services consist of 1.3% of the entire revenue. For trading, currently generate about 2%. We carry some brand exclusively on some area like northern region for chemists and also oil. Other than that, our trading company are focusing on promoting and marketing of our technologies. As I mentioned, the conformity assessment technology, ISIN, ISAN, and also IKIN. This is how we look like. IKIN currently having about 24,000 live user online, and then spread over 41 country. This including the licensee, laboratory, and also 3 accredited laboratory. So why we know the footprint of the country? Because of QR codes traceability. Whenever they do the scanning, we know the IP address, and then we track the number of user and potential user in that particular company. It becomes a very valuable industrial in data for us to do penetration or expand our network from Malaysia and to ASEAN and also Asia Pacific. ISAN, as I mentioned to you, is a document management system that actually in line and complement to our certification. So we are not only marketing on the certification services. Indeed, we also offer our client to digitalize their ISO documentations. Lastly, ISIN, Global Real-Time Surveillance. This is very interesting. This mark is actually a self-voluntary certification on their product, where allow our consumer, when I use consumer, mean people that consume product, that actually can scan the QR code on during the purchase, enter into the big data that actually from our laboratory system, where how good is this particular product in terms of how frequent they send, how reliable is the result, and also probably they can enter into the nutrition labeling concept and certification in this particular QR code. Right now, the conformity assessment technology is about 0.8% generated by the company right now. We have 2 enterprise users, which is under licensing, and we have 15 enterprise users for the IZEN, and also we have 50 product tier 1 ISIN product right now. And the number are growing day to day because of the digitalization, and also, informations is actually, it cannot be asymmetry. Keep into the manufacturing, probably you can share up to your client and increase the selling price of the product itself. Financial highlight, we have a very stable growth in terms of revenue since 2022, and 2002 to 2022, on average we have 8.8% growth. And in the quarter, second half of 2022 compared to 2021, we're having about 9.1% of the revenue growth as well. In terms of revenue breakdown by segment, as I mentioned, testing and assessment are considered about 96 to 98%, and whereas others, such as certification and also our digital product, generate a very potential expansion of this area. EBITDA as well, growth is at 38.9% from compared to first half and second half of 2021 and 2022. Net profit are also similar growth rate. This is actually the aesthetic representative of excluding one-off listing fees, about 4.35 million in 2022. Our competitive advantage or strength. First thing, I think we have a very good track record, and also strong market reputations through digitalization, through the articulations or evocations on our tagline, compliant catalyst, the emphasis on security, simplicity, accuracy, and agility of our delivery of services. You like it or not, the testing and especially testing services are quite constant compared to the nation competitor, as earlier show you in the early slide. Both of us or many of us are getting a same gadget from Malaysia, buying a same machine from US, and adopting a same testing methodology from international. Hence, by this three constant factor, the result should be same. Why client in Malaysia or in the world will pick up LMS rather than others? Because we have digitalization solution that emphasis on accuracy, agility, simplicity, and also security. I would like to introduce you to some competence management team. First is Dato Farida. He's actually our independent chairman. Yeah, she's actually ex-director general for Standard Malaysia, similar to Singlass, similar to SAC, Singapore Accrediting Corporation in Singapore. Second, and she's also an ISO council member since 2007 and 17 and 19. The second one go to the Dato Gui, a very unique Chinese that sit on board of Security Commission, Bank Negara Malaysia, which is MAS in Singapore, as independent directors. With this, our board are fully independent. Me as an executive director did not attend or participate in or as a member of RC, AC, and also NC. It's all independent director that running the board. Diverse range of services, location cater, and wide range of the needs of group customer. I think I already covered all this in the earlier slide. Strong technical expertise giving group market advantages. I think I covered as well. Content of the digitalization. Yep, I think I will touch a little bit on this digitalization's journey with our technology platform, especially our patent pending technology. This is actually allow us to be more flexible as compared to our competitor to venture into the business outside Malaysia or outside ASEAN by actually wired licensing approach. And IKIN, let's think about the a quick run on the concept. ISIN, yeah, first thing, ISIN, the global first, real-time certifications system. This allow us to increase the frequency of testing because a lot of people, client sending sample for testing to meet two major requirements. Probably we want to certify that the product is good for human consumption, or they want to actually conform to certain ISO requirement like food safety to 2008, HACCP, GMP requirement that they send sample to us. And also they probably required to send sample upon they have some sample that going to export outside the importing country required product to be testing. So this is the three major reasons why the client sends sample to us. Of course, on and off, we do have some outbreak like melamine, like pesticides outbreak, every 5 to 10 years once. With these three major factors, we as a commercial laboratory, fully independent, cannot dictate when and where and how many sample to be sent to laboratory, making our resource planning become very impactful when the big load sample coming in. However, via ISIN, these so-called global real-time QR codes certification products, we actually will increase customer or client to send a sample by dictating that at least one sample a month. With this, we are very confident our capacity and testing industrial business segment will definitely increase the revenue as more people believe on ISIN and more people participate ISIN. Also, we managed to convince standard standard user is actually a very profound consumer group in Malaysia actually support ISIN certification. ISAN is actually document management control system. Indeed, when we compete to the traditional certifications company like those competitors, and we're facing uphill challenge where we managed to see a gaps in the industry right now. Most of the document control are hard copy, in hard copy. So in order to make the our certification services become more prominent, and then we roll back together, we tie in together this document management system and to launch the certification as long as document control system in the market right now. And this is actually to reduce as ISO burden, to reduce the dependency of the employee that actually maintain the system. Via documentation online, those so-called management representative can unlock, can be less dependent. When they resign, straight away another new person can take over without proper training of the understanding of ISO, because the system had algorithm to flow through all the document control under ISO requirement. Lastly is IKIN. As I mentioned to you, IKIN is our tools to expand our footprint throughout Malaysia. So IKIN is a LIM system, laboratory management information system. It's very unique. These particular LIMs are catered supply side and also demand side of economy, meaning supply side is all the independent laboratory. We do have 3 versions that allow respective requirements of the supply side to board the the LIMs. As you can see right now, you can see our Google under the Google view, we can see different locations that users currently are using iKeen, and it will keep on expanding when the site are on with the same common platform. On the demand side, we do allow our client using our LIMS system, which is light version free. When they do this, they register their own sample, they can check their trending analysis, they even can talk to our service provider, our customer service online with all proper message are all recorded in the system. This is to ensure again our delivery of services are accurate, agile, secure, and simple. So by then, I think I would like to conclude my final slide that's cited from Yahoo Finance, picking up LMS compliant Catalyst LMS. Is it a high quality stock to own? The answer cited synthesized from the article mentioned that according to the article, ROE of LMS is about 34%, meaning every single dollar worth shareholder equity, the profit is about 34 cents. It is clear that LMS compliant had better ROE and the average about 13% in the professional and services industry. Moreover, LMS also has debt to equity D ratio of 0.13, which is far from excessive. Hence, company that can achieve high ROE without too much debt are generally a good stock to hold. So thank you very much for your time, and open for any questions. And I had sent her to the moderator now.
Yes, hi.
Thank you, Dr. Oy. We have just come to the last segment of today's, which is the Q&A. May I invite Mr. Sivanity, Senior Consultant, Editorial and Investor Education, ex-Senior Correspondent from SIAS to moderate the Q&A session. Participant, you may input your question in the Q&A box here, and as well as our Facebook Live audience, please click on the link and to join in. We will try to answer as many questions as possible. Over to you guys.
Okay, thanks for that presentation, Dr. Wee. Just curious, your headquarters, your head office is actually in Penang, right? And all your laboratories are in Malaysia, JB, and your competitors are all Malaysian, and your expansion plans, you say you want to set up more laboratories in Malaysia. Why did you choose to list in Singapore instead of Malaysia?
First thing first, I think I need to correct. Probably I may not be clear. Indeed, we are from Malaysia. We are looking forward to expand our operations outside Malaysia's ASEAN and as long as the in Asia Pacific. That's the reason that I picked Singapore as my listed board of this particular area. As I think we are more service oriented. Rather than manufacturing, which is my company in Malaysia are more on focusing on manufacturer. Hence, I guess Singapore give me more chance as a service provider rather than manufacturer. So that's the reason I'm in Malaysia. In Singapore, sorry.
Okay, all right. Okay. What about your top 5 customers? Could you perhaps share some information?
Currently my top 5 customer, we having a very long tailing, meaning easily a single client that send us on average about 10,000 to 5,000 ringgit Malaysians. We are having a very long tailing, number one. So number two, we are not too dependent of the a single client that send us sample a couple of millions and all things. So our first 5 customer or first 10, I would like to say, are more from the first one, I think nearly to the medical device. They are in medical device industrial. And the second, third are more on foods and also the pharmaceutical product as well.
Okay, thank you. I've got a question from the public. Does LMS provide accredited soil testing for construction industries?
Not at present moment. However, throughout the expansion plan, throughout the meeting, after listing, I've been to a lot of seeing a lot of collaborator. Indeed, I'm in Bangkok right now. So after this session, I will meeting another collaborator. So every time we go through, every time we present, every time we be pitching, we can see the potential over there. And this industry, you like it or not, is actually very fragmented. Very fragmented. Some of them just focus on soil, which is we are not. Yeah, we can do a little bit on soil testing, but in terms of coiling, how that, you know, that kind of testing, we don't have that kind of equipment to do that. However, as we pitch along the side to collaborate, we can see a lot of potential, you know, collaborator around the region that they provide different complements services for LMS that to be collaborate, to be merger, to be JV as well.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I noticed that F&B forms a very big portion of your revenue. So what kind of tests do you conduct for F&B?
Okay, I think I need to make some collection over here. Under the food and also food segments, we do have F&B, we do have food manufacturer. However, the bigger portion is from the food manufacturer rather than F&B. So when we take out slide by slide, let's look at the food manufacturer first. From their perspective, they are more towards the chemical testing, microbiological testing, and also some of them provide functional food. Functional foods, or we call it functional food, for example, a food that being designed to have a specially unique function, like low sugar, yeah, no GI, no pesticide. So with this testing, actually those are required from the food manufacturer. On the other hand, F&B basically are more focused on hygiene. The hygiene of the utensil, the hygiene of the, you know, the chopping board, the hygiene of the bare hand of the, you know, the front counter staff. So we used to provide, we call it swab tests on the surface and also the bare hand of the employee. So make sure that food provided by the these particular outlets are free from bacteria and safe for human consumption. That's how our ISIN come in the picture. A lot of these surveillance, after the surveillance, they keep all the result in their drawer. When they only require during the audit or customer complaint, they only take out, say, look, I do this testing. ISIN magnify all the data via our technology. That's how we come in from this picture.
Okay, thank you. I also noticed that, okay, the compliance, the ESG is your new initiative, right? Just announced. Was it part of that you also look at anti-bribery? I saw that in one of the slides. How does that work? What do you actually do for that?
Okay, I think a lot of people talk about ESGs. Yeah. Many, even though I spoke to BUSA, yeah, because BUSA is the first to come up the sustainable reporting format or template or standard last year. So when I spoke to them, a lot of people are articulating or advocating about ESGs. They provide ESGs. Basically, they are providing level 4 ESGs, element, example, solution. Yeah. But bear in mind, as a laboratory like us, we are the scientific person or scientists that actually verify and validate those scientific data from the level 1 ESGs level, which is we provide data. So we verify data, example from environment, yeah, and we also do certification. We put up the notes that certify, this particular company under anti-bribery. They're practicing, all the good system to reduce, to minimize, anti-bribery, this governance. It is very famous or very popular in Malaysia on anti-bribery. Probably is depend on the bribery index that, different company have the different index, even though like our social compliance as well, not all company or country require on that. In Malaysia, we are highly actually depending on that. There is a gap between the governance perspective. Hence, we provide these ESG services from the E and S, basically we are looking at the data that could inject into their ESG reporting. And G, governance, we are basically talking about certification and services from different requirement or component of ESG, like social, as you mentioned, anti-bribery, and corporate governance, and things like that. Of course, our ESGs are quite unique. We actually partner with one of the legal advisor or legal partner that looking also at the their whistleblowing policy, private data protection policy, and also employee handbook, just to make sure whatever they articulate in the practices are conform to the legal requirement respective country.
Very interesting. Okay. All right. Few more questions. Your company is actually quite asset light and has actually good cash flow.
Yeah.
So maybe you can just share some of the plans you have for expansion in future or uses of the capital.
We will focus into 3 areas. Number 1 is to actually set aside tremendous portions to develop our digital product, iSeen, iKeen, and also iZen. And this is under some of them is actually quite matured. Like iKeen is actually already very robust since 2007, a year after I incorporate LMS. And during that time in 2007, we call it database. Not even big data, IoT, cloud computing, nothing. No AI, nothing. We just call it database. We just develop a database that actually to retrieve, to store and retrieve data, information, quickly. But when the technology developed until now, we actually, having a very robust audit, having gone through a lot of audit from standard Malaysia's client to make sure the thing is done. So first thing is to actually to spend more money on the digital developments. Okay, phase 2, phase 3, like maybe a little bit sharing on my iZen. We're going to launch this AI, artificial intelligence, AI guided audit for iZen. That is our second phase developments. Yep. And for the second portions that we will first focus on certification services. We want to expand the certifications, system. As you can see, some of the slide that highlight the athletes is not our own system. We are actually licensed from others, licensed from these other service provider. So lastly, the last proceed will be on the merger and acquisitions.
Okay. There is a question from the public. One of the slides has audit on security information systems. So can you elaborate what is that certification about?
That is actually ISO 27001. This particular system is actually focused on information technologies in terms of security, in terms of PDP, in terms of how robust that they store the data in the system. So it's quite common. 27001 under this PDP perspective is fall under category of G, governance. So governance, we have 27001. Probably you have this anti-bribery, and coupled with the legal perspective of looking at your current, your legal requirement on this particular, policies as well.
Okay. Last question. In one of your slides, I noticed that you put that the directors intend for dividends. This refers to what retail investors are always interested in, dividends. So I think one of the slides stated 20% of your profit to be paid out as dividends. But I think last year you have declared a dividend that is 60% of your net profit, 60%. Right? 60%, right? So going forward, is there any guidance you can provide regarding dividends?
I think I lean forward to be high dividends perspective on current moment, because first thing first, we are very high cash flow generated company. So in order to make ourselves more sexy, so
Yeah.
something to attract, investor, I will lean forward that. But however, it's subject to my board of directors, approval. Personally, I will lean toward the high dividend payout. Of course, we cannot compare to others, company like RIET, very high assets. We are totally different. We are because of digitalization, the emphasis on accuracy, agility, simplicity of making business with us, and also securities. It makes us more profitable as compared to, our bottom line is about, before listing, about 30%. I believe we can do it back in this year or the years coming. So hence, with this, I guess we still want to continue with a very good a share to be hosted by the investor.
Okay. Well, I think that's it. We've come to the end. It's 1:30. I just want to thank Dr. Wee for his time and a very interesting and informative presentation. I hope it has helped those who are attending here and who are watching live learn more about this company. I'll pass you back over to Eileen. Thank you again, Dr. Wee.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, panelists, for insightful sharing. We will be happy to announce that, for today's session, we'll be able to rewatch at SIAS YouTube channel. And of course, Corporate Connect is a bi-monthly webinar. To visit our website to get updates on our upcoming investor education programs and initiatives. The upcoming Corporate Connect will be featuring mental health on the 18th of April. Thank you and enjoy the rest of the day.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.